What's up, everybody? We are back for another week of Set Point Sessions. Austin Davids here, joined by my older brother, Andrew Davids. What's up?
Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving break. I know we enjoyed our time with family. Happy to be back broadcasting to the masses for Set Point Sessions.
The
Welcome back.
world. We are broadcasting to the world, sort of live at the moment. When you're listening to this, it
Yeah, it's
won't
live.
be live. They don't know. That's okay. Today, we're
You
going to
can
be talking about
pretend it's
something
live.
really cool. We're talking about prep and recovery, the practical and the mental side of prep and recovery. This was something that my lovely co-host here, Andrew, recommended we talk about, and I think it's a very, very great topic that everybody can use. Right?
Yeah. I think not only is this applicable for any athletes that are listening, but maybe coaches, definitely parents. I think parents of youth athletes play way bigger of a role than some people realize. And so I think that some of the practical things that we're going to talk about, parents can really help, kind of encourage and help get things like that taken care of. But then also some of the mental side. I think it's important for parents to understand kind of what's going on in their athletes' minds before and after competition and how to kind of help them succeed as best as possible. So I think based on the things that I've got, and the things that we've got planned to talk about tonight, I think that um, this could be a pretty beneficial episode for some parents out there too, which I'm excited about.
Absolutely. I'm going to say this at the beginning instead of the end this time. If you hear something that you think applies to somebody in your life, send it to them. Send them a snippet of it. Give them a timestamp. Like Andrew said, there's a lot of things in this episode and previous episodes that people can benefit from if they listen to it and put it into practice. So whether you're a coach and you have an athlete that needs to hear this, or you're an athlete and you have a teammate that needs to hear this, or a parent, whatever it may be, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your team.
Parents talk on the sidelines all the time. If you know a parent friend of a teammate who might be struggling with something, send it to them and see if we can help out a little bit. No, we teased on our last episode that we would have a guest on this week at the beginning of December. Um, the coach that we're planning to have on has a out of state tournament coming up this weekend, and the planning of it just wasn't right. We are planning to have that same coach, no change in plans, same coach on next week with no scheduled games for them, so they have a little bit more free time to come on and share some thoughts and share their time with us. So we're not leaving you out to dry. We're just kind of delaying, making sure that nobody feels like we pulled the rug out from under you or anything like that.
And can you imagine if how her team would feel if she went on a podcast and didn't prepare them for their out of state tournament? She made a good coach's
You
decision.
know?
I think that's very smart on her end.
Yep, the
Shout out.
priorities are straight. So
Yes.
can't falter for that. Let's get into this. Let's talk about the practical, not the mental sports psychology side of things, but like the actual things that athletes can do practically to get ready for a performance, to get ready for a tournament or a game or you know, an event. So what do you suggest? What are your thoughts about how can I physically get myself ready to go?
Well, I first want to clarify the difference between the practical and the mental. Like it's pretty self-explanatory, but the practical are things that you can do, you have control over more or less. Think of like routines or how you prepare best physically for a competition. Mental is obviously the other side of things, the thinking, the visualization. We'll talk more about it later, but those types of things.
Physical stuff that we can do.
Yeah, physical stuff. Yeah, great. I think a lot of times athletes focus on the physical things, the preparation that the routines they have the night before, whatever, as opposed to the mental. And I think it's important to say that they are both very vital to the success of an athlete. We can't look at it and say practical is more important than mental or mental is more important than practical. They both help. We need to focus on both of them. So, as far as the practical side of things go, we're talking things like sleep, the food you're eating, um, proper hydration is a big thing for athletes. Making sure your equipment's ready, showing up early. Like, for example, when the bus is leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're there at 6:50, ready to go. You're not
Right.
running late because you had to go get your Starbucks or anything like that. You're early,
Or if you
and
gotta go get your Starbucks, plan accordingly so you can still get there at 6:50 and be early.
we're not talking to anybody in particular here, just for any scooters. Scooters is a big thing. Dutch Bros, Seven Brew, whatever it is.
Whatever your coffee drink of choice in the morning is, get it early so you're not rushed for time.
I think Starbucks opens at like 4 o'clock, so there's no excuse unless you're leaving at 4 o'clock. But I wanted to talk about these a little bit here. The sleep is super important. There's statistical research that backs up the more sleep you get at night, the night before competition, the nights leading up to it, the better you perform. Um, and we can get into the topic of nerves and not sleeping well, but that's why it's important to develop a routine and a habit of going to bed early, putting the phone away, plugging the video games in, and going to bed. It's not even necessarily for just athletes, right? I'm thinking of people who work stressful jobs and they know that they've got a big day the next day. Getting that sleep and resting your body so it's ready to go the next day. Um, Nutrition is an obvious thing. You can't expect to perform to the best of your ability if you're eating junk food.
This is one thing that I wish when I was a younger athlete that I took more seriously. Um, I had to eat a lot with a fairly high metabolism and practicing 2 a days and things like that in college. Like I was burning a lot of calories, so I had to ingest a lot of calories, but they weren't necessarily good calories. And I wish that I would have prioritized that a little bit better when I was younger. And I wish I would have
Yeah,
known how important it was.
absolutely. We were both like skin and bones growing up,
Yeah.
and we would eat anything and everything, right? And so it makes me think if we had the proper nutrition or somebody, telling us this is what you should be eating. Well, mom and dad did, of course, but we didn't listen to them.
Shout out, mom.
I still to this day don't eat broccoli, so nothing she said worked. But nutrition is still important. And the other thing is hydration. And this every athlete's heard hydrate, 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 right? You tell our tennis kids all the time, you have to hydrate because when you're out there in the heat, even if you're inside, you have to have that hydration going to keep your body going. Cramps are a real thing. Dehydration is a real thing, and the physical effects that come with that, you definitely don't want to mess around with. Um, One of the things I mentioned was equipment readiness. Having your
Yeah.
stuff ready. I think of you doing van rides with the kids, and your questions were always, "You got your racket? You got your shoes? You got your water?" Because you obviously need those types of things for performances
And
for athletics.
and as basic of questions as those sound, there have been times where, oh crap, I don't have my racket with me. Wait, we're going to a tennis tournament and you didn't bring your racket with you. What are we doing? We have to drive by your house. Again, not thinking of anybody in particular that I know listens to our podcast, but whatever. It sounds basic, but it's things that you gotta be ready for. And I used to do this. This was part of my ritual when I was playing. I used to get everything ready the night before, get my clothes ready. If I'm sweating through extra shirts because it's really hot, get my clothes ready, get my water jug ready, make sure that my rackets all had strings in them. Um, any sort of like drink powders or electrolyte mixes that I wanted to have with me, like make sure that those are all in my bag. Like it was just part of my stuff so that I didn't have to do it the morning of. It was ready to go. I could just grab my bag and head out the door.
It causes a lot less stress in the morning when you should be relaxed trying to get your mind and your body in a good spot to perform.
Yeah.
It's one less thing to worry about. Showing up to the competition area, the van ride, whatever it is, early, to me, especially if it's like an arena, you're showing up to an arena, a gym, whatever it is. We can talk about this a little bit later, but it helps with the visualization. It allows you more time to visualize
Yep.
the things that you need to visualize. It gives you more time to listen to music. It gives you more time to just kind of get in the zone, so to speak. This last one doesn't apply to every sport, but watching
Yep.
film with a purpose. Um, you might think tennis doesn't
Yes.
watch film. My brother will tell you 100% you're wrong. It is
That's right.
very much a film sport. But I'm thinking of things like basketball, football, where that's a very big part of the preparation. That's not just time off the field where you're not working, right? That's the logic
Yep.
of it is to get better and to learn stuff. I think having a purpose for that film session is huge.
I think that with the film, I think when you watch film with a coach, it's really easy to get something out of that film. But this is more specific to you doing it on your own and not just having huddle up on your laptop or on your phone just cuz you need to log minutes or whatever. Like you're either studying yourself, looking at your own habits and things that you should get better at, or you're studying your opponent and you're looking at their patterns and trends and habits and how can you get a upper hand on some of the things that they do. So like
Absolutely.
the that's one of the things that a lot of the pros are really good at is productive film sessions.
If you're an athlete who has the opportunity to watch film and you're not exactly sure how to do that productively, or you feel like you can do it more productively, I strongly encourage you to talk to your coach. If they give
Yeah.
you the film to watch, they'll know what you need to be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So don't necessarily just act like you're watching it and go into it blindly. Talk to them, ask them questions. Hey, what do you want me to be looking for? What are things that I need to keep an eye out for? And I promise you they're gonna steer you down the right path. Andrew, I wanted to ask you, as a coach, are there certain practical habits, routine type things that you wish your athletes did more consistently?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of mentioned already the eating a little bit better and fueling your body properly. Um, you mentioned the hydration and how important that is, especially for outdoor sports. Um, I think, kind of talking a little bit more specific for an outdoor sport, I wish that athletes were more aware of weather conditions um, that they would be competing in. Like showing up with the knowledge that it's going to be cold out there and how can I handle that and not being like, oh man, it is way colder than I thought it was going to be and I'm not ready. Like you've got to know what the conditions are that you're going to be competing in, um, and be prepared for that, and then have extra layers, right? Like if it's going to be cold, bring lots of things that you can feel out what you need and what you don't need during your warm up period, and then you know have the correct things during competition if you have to take layers off or put layers on or whatever the case might be. It's always better to be over prepared than it is to be under prepared, and I think weather conditions are um, a good example of that.
That's great. It's one of those things we've talked about it before. You can't control the weather, but you need to be aware of it, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't blame the wind. I know you talk to the kids all the time about the wind and being prepared for the wind, but there's a certain element of being prepared for it. You can't go out there and hope and pray that you don't have wind,
Right.
or like, hey, I don't know what to expect. There's forecasts for a reason. There's weather apps for a reason. Look at them. Know what
Yeah.
you're going to be performing in, and prepare yourself for that. And this is one of those things that you can do mentally and physically, right? Physically prepare for the weather with what you're going to wear, layers, whatever. Mentally prepare for it as I really got to face the wind today. It's going to be tough, but I got to do this, this, and this to get through it. That I think that's a
Yeah.
really good one. Look at that. One thing
Look at
into
that.
another. It's
Yeah.
like are we professionals? Did we
Did
become
we plan
pros?
that?
No, we didn't plan it. But I did want to say that, just a little side note that I might have to edit out, or I might keep it in here so everybody knows. My wife made a point today that we're professional athletes. We're not only professional podcasters, we're
Hey, we are.
professional athletes.
I
I
we are professional tennis players.
sometimes I
Not
forget
just
about
not just
this.
coaches, but we are professional tennis players based on the
I
definition of the word professional,
We
having
have
earned money.
received money for our tennis playing performance.
Yes.
Just thought I'd make a note of that. So we're
Sure.
we're
Yeah.
duo professionals is what we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
I
course
love
we
it.
are.
Okay, back on topic. Mental preparation. Um, this is huge. Like I said, the physical's huge. The mental is just as important as the physical. What does
Yeah.
good mental prep look like for athletes? As a coach, as somebody who's been an athlete, what does that look like for somebody?
Yeah. Lots of different ways that you can mentally prep yourself for competition, whether it's a match or a game or a tournament or whatever your competition looks like. And some of this starts in the days leading up to your event. Like you are not limited to just the day of or the minutes before or hours before. Um, in my head, I'm thinking like visualization, thinking about your goals for any particular event and how those goals have to be process driven, not necessarily outcome based. Like, yes, everybody wants to win, and that should be a goal, but you can't determine your success based on winning and losing. You can't go into an event with just the understanding of I want to win. You've got to have other goals um, behind that. Your routines. That's kind of more in the hours and the minutes prior to competition. Um, the thought about trying to achieve perfection but not being a perfectionist. That's another thought process, kind of process based goal type of thing. And then always, reminding yourself of that adaptability, um, and being ready for anything, right? And that's kind of going back into the weather. Like I've got to be ready for whatever weather conditions might present themselves. I got to be ready for whatever the crowd might present as far as adversity or potential distractions and things like that, and always having that way to stay focused. A couple of those that I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit more was the one of those is visualization. I'm a big proponent of visualizing what you want and how you want to achieve that particular thing. Um, there's sometimes I don't do this every year, but sometimes there's a drill that I do with my tennis teams the day before regionals, in our last practice of the season, and I tell my players, I ask them to pick whatever moment you want to visualize, and maybe this is um, match point in a state qualifying match to go to state because that's what our regional tournament is, or maybe it's the regional championship match, or maybe it's the first match of the day or the first point of the first match, and you're really nervous and you just want to be able to visualize that and live it ahead of time so that you're ready to be in that situation um, when that time comes. And so then, whatever their moment is, I feed them that ball, and we don't end the drill until they successfully execute that shot or win that point or whatever. So as a coach, I try to do that and provide my athletes that opportunity. But I also think it's important for athletes to do that on their own. One of the best ways I think of being able to successfully visualize something um, is to go almost um, deprive your senses of as much as possible and put your head and your mind into game mode. Um, and so, what my suggestion, if I'm giving an athlete a suggestion of how to successfully visualize, um, my suggestion is go to your bedroom, shut the lights off, shut the hallway lights off outside so that there's no light leaking in. Um, Close your eyes, no music. The music can come in later, but no music, and start to imagine yourself in your moment, whether it's your starting lineup announcements or jump ball or kickoff or whatever the situation is, and then play out those moments in your head. Like imagine yourself going to give a block or execute a pass or shoot your free throw or whatever it might be. Um, and just replay those moments over and over and over. Because when you get to that moment in real life, you will have seen it more than one time in your head and you will know what your expectations are of happening. Now, reality doesn't always match your visualization. It doesn't always turn out the same way, right? You can't expect that. But if you don't visualize things, you are not preparing yourself for those situations when they come in reality. I think another really cool thing that you can do to help yourself successfully visualize things is put your shoes on. Lay in your bed, put your shoes on. Like, it sounds
Feel
silly.
it. Feel
Feel
it.
it. Feel it. Not just think about it, but feel it. And if you if you're a basketball player, find an audio recording of squeaking basketball shoes, like an audio and the ball bouncing, and find the audio. No crowd noise, because you don't want to be focused on the crowd. You want to be focused on the moment, right? The court, what's happening. And so like find that audio and just play it. Close your eyes, lay down in bed for 10, 15 minutes, put your shoes on, smell it, like the smell of your gear can really put your head and your mind in that moment. And like it sounds silly, but like you want to make that moment as real as possible before the moment actually happens. And so
Yeah.
like hold, if you got a basketball, hold it. If you got a football, hold it. You got your tennis racket, hold it. Feel the fuzz on a tennis ball. Like whatever it might be, make that moment as real as possible.
I
Do you have
love that.
anything that you could do like that you want to elaborate on some of those other things for mental prep?
The only one that really stands out is with visualization. I love that drill that you do with the kids. I like, and they love it. They love it. They lean into it, and they miss a shot, and they're like, "Give it to me again, coach. I got this. I got to hit this." Or they come up with the most ridiculous scenarios that you're like, bro, you're never gonna be in this situation, but you might be. You never
Yeah.
know. I love that that's a thing. And I wish more coaches of high level athletes who are going to be in those situations would utilize that. With visualization, this applies really to like professional athletes, or athletes who have access to their area of performance ahead of time. And
Yeah.
I don't know how many professional athletes listen to this, probably zero if I had to guess. But getting there early, going back to what we already talked about, and running through for a football player, running through your routes on the
Uh-huh.
field, getting a feel for the arena that you're in. How does the court bounce the
Yeah.
basketball? Is it different than the one you practice on? Going through those things and physically being there helps tremendously.
Yep.
Like you can talk to most professional athletes and they'll tell you that a lot of their pre-game routines, they're probably visualizing too, right? When they're out there running routes and they're doing whatever, they're visualizing catching the ball at the 45-yard line, whatever it may be. Now I
It's
know
not just a physical warm up; it's also that visualization, right? That they're doing
exactly.
as
Yeah.
they're
And I
doing.
know a lot of high school athletes probably don't have access to the gym before a basketball game or whatever the case may be. But, if there's high school athletes that are planning to go on to college and play,
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be, this is something to keep in mind that visualization is incredibly important for success on the field, on the court.
I think for high school athletes on visualization, if you don't have the access to the gym or the field in the immediate time before, stay late after practice the day before. And like
Yeah.
the gym will be quiet, field will be clear, whatever the situation might be, and then you can, give yourself that walkthrough of your routes or where your position needs to be on a play, whatever the case might be. Like
Um,
if you want it bad enough, you can make it happen.
Uh, that's huge. Say that again.
Yeah.
I want everyone to hear that again. Say it again.
If you want it bad enough, you can make it happen.
I love that quote you said. I love it.
So I got a question for you, Austin. Is there anything as far as mental preparation that you wish you would have done better as a player to help with your mental prep when you were younger?
I can't really think of one specific thing off the top of my head. I just wish that I would have paid more attention to it. I think I was really big on the physical preparations and the practical side of things, but there was a lot of times that I can think of where I just kind of went out and played tennis, or I went out and ran a cross country race, or whatever it is. And there wasn't a lot of visualization. There wasn't a lot of mental preparation going into it. I know that's kind of a short answer to your question, but I just wish I had
All
more
right,
of
all
these
right.
skills or was more educated about them and knew things that I could do to help put myself in a better situation.
Let's let's switch gears. So we just talked about the pre-competition routines, the practical and the mental side, and then you do the game, you play the game, you've got your tournament, your match, whatever your performance is, and then you've got the aftermath. And your practical, your physical recovery, and your mental recovery is just as important as your physical and mental preparation. And so I think like we can talk all day about, the actual competition or the actual event. Let's talk about afterwards now. So Austin, give us some things that athletes or performers, not necessarily just athletes, but performers should do for physical recovery right after in the immediate aftermath of the competition.
I want to put a disclaimer out that all sports are different, right? There's some
Sure.
sports that right after competition, you are done. You don't play for another week. Football, for example, basketball, you
Right.
won't play for a couple days. There's sports like tennis where you're going to have to turn around after a competition and you're going to have to do it again. So some of
Yep.
these things are applicable to all sports, and some of them are applicable more to the sports that have a big delay in between. Um,
Sure.
the very important ones are hydrating, drinking water, getting electrolytes in your system, replenishing the fuel that you lose during competition. Um, Refuel. I have refuel written down. That's eating, right? Getting things back in your body to keep yourself going. Cooling down. This was a big thing in cross country or track. You can't
Mhm.
just stop running. Cool down. Get your heart rate slowly lowered down. It goes into stretching, right? Making
Yeah.
sure that you're not just hitting the stop button and everything stops physically. You got to
Yeah.
kind of just wind yourself down. Um, a big thing for athletes these days is treatment.
Right.
Going to see your athletic trainer, massages, the cupping
Ice.
massages, stuff like that.
Ice.
Ice. Yes, that's
I wish I would have
huge.
iced more when I was a kid. I thought it was too cold, and I didn't like in like the first 2 minutes of like the when the ice got on me. But then when I got into college and like I needed it, and if I could get through that first 2 minutes, then everything went numb, and then I felt way better after icing. Like that's a big part of treatment and the immediate physical aftermath of competing or practicing or what working out or whatever.
Yeah. I think of that picture of us after our professional tennis
Yeah,
match, and we both have ice
yeah,
on our shoulders because we're old men who,
yep,
with our money in our hand, and
right.
that's funny. Uh,
Dollar bills
th-
in this hand, and I got ice on this shoulder.
that's right. That's all I need. Just give me some money in one hand and some ice in another. I'm good. Um, the last thing that right after a competition is sleeping. Right. We talked about it with the preparation. Same thing with the recovery. Get some sleep. You're probably pretty tired. Your body
Yep.
wants to rest. Let it rest. Right. Um,
Take care of your body, right? It's way more important than a lot of people realize.
I think that is another thing I wish I would have known or done better of growing up. especially college and needing knee surgery and stuff like that. Um, I just wish that I took better care of my body because I'm feeling it
Yeah.
now, dude. As a 30-year
Yeah.
old, I am aching everywhere, and it is
Hmm.
rough. So, of those things that I mentioned, in your opinion, what do athletes usually get wrong in that recovery process immediately following?
Yeah. Probably the biggest thing is stretching. I think everybody can rehydrate, and your body tells you if you need to eat more or whatever. Um, I think the biggest single thing is probably the stretching and the physical treatment, because that takes time and it takes effort in the immediate aftermath of a practice or a competition. Um, I didn't do it until I got to college, um, and I should have. I definitely wasn't flexible. Like, I didn't stretch. I wasn't flexible. It wasn't one of the things that I prioritized, um, in my younger years. And so, like you said, I'm a 30 plus former college athlete, and I hurt a lot. My body hurt. My knees hurt on certain days. My back hurts most of the time. My shoulder hurts when I go play. Like, all of these things that I have right now, I didn't think about when I was younger. If you would have told me when I was younger playing in the ages of like 15 to 21 or 22 years old at the end of my, really competitive career, that if it just took me 10 minutes of stretching after I was done every time playing, and maybe I wouldn't have the current physical ailments that I have right now, would I do it? 100% I would do it.
Yeah.
Like, not a question in my mind. Because it sucks waking up every morning, rolling out of bed, and my back hurts, and I have to pop my back every morning because I can't bend over and put my socks on. Like, like that's a real thing. High school athletes, listen up. That's a real thing. And tennis isn't an overly physical sport in terms of like physical contact. There's, like, not saying it's not hard physically, because it is, but it's not football. It's not basketball where you're, you know, using your body as a weapon. And so,
Yeah.
like, take care of your body. That's one of the biggest things. Stretch, get your treatment, get your ice. Um, take care of yourself, because you're gonna regret it later on if you don't.
If you want to be able to do a yoga class with your wife when you get older, stretch.
Yep.
Stretch.
Yep.
As somebody who cannot make it through a full yoga class, a beginner's yoga class, you gotta stretch. You gotta stretch. Dude, the simplest moves you could ever think of in yoga, the downward facing dog,
Downward
hurts
dog, baby.
because I couldn't do that. Because I didn't stretch growing up. And if
Yeah.
I could go
Yeah.
back and change one thing, it'd be my stretching habits. I completely agree with you. Um, so there's a lot of mental recovery that goes along with the physical, right? It's just
Yeah.
like with the preparation. You got the physical, you got the mental. It's the same thing with the recovery. So I want to ask you, as somebody who's been through it all, as somebody who coaches athletes through this, what does healthy mental recovery look like after a game? I want to iterate that healthy recovery is a lot different than a fast recovery. I'll let you
Yeah.
expand on that.
Yeah. Healthy mental recovery, to me, as a former athlete and a current coach, involves removing emotion from the performance, good or bad, win or lose. Um, to be able to mentally evaluate your performance correctly, healthily, in a productive way, you've got to remove the emotional aspect. And so you can't do this immediately after you're done, because your emotions are there in the immediate aftermath. Win or lose, you're either excited that you won or you're disappointed that you lost. You played well and you performed well or you didn't, and then you feel good or you feel bad about that emotionally. And so to be able to have a good mental recovery, you have to wait until your emotions are gone and you can look back at it and evaluate yourself and your performance. I should have done this better. I did this well. I need to continue to work on this. I need, whatever it might be, but that can't happen immediately after. You have to wait. You have to allow your emotions to calm down so that you can think back clearly and analyze things properly and successfully.
And that's really hard to do. That's really hard to do as an athlete sometimes, is stop, take a second, take some time to just let whatever happened happen, and then analyze everything afterwards, emotionally, etc. It's difficult, but I think that's what separates great athletes from good athletes, is that ability.
We mentioned at the beginning that some parents might be able to take some things out of this episode, and one of the things I think for parents is this part specifically is allowing a good amount of waiting time before you talk to your kids about their performance, whether it's good or bad. Like, there's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with giving your athlete a high five and saying, "Great job, I'm proud of you. You worked hard." You know, the first time you see them after they come off the court or out of the locker room or whatever. But when you're really talking about analyzing and criticizing or saying that you should do this better, or having the conversation of evaluating a performance, that has to wait if it's going to be productive. No matter how much you know about the sport, no matter how much you care about your child and their performance, you have to wait and let the emotions, your own emotions and the athlete's emotions, calm down. I think one of our tennis coaches told all of the club tennis parents that there should not be any conversations about the matches on the car ride home because it's too fresh. It's too immediate. Now, we were in a bit of a unique situation where our dad is a good tennis coach and he knows a lot about the game. He did a good job even of waiting and not giving the critical feedback while the emotions were still high. So parents, I think that it would be a good thing for you to have this conversation with your kids. Maybe set a time limit, like 1 hour after your competition is over, there's no critical conversations. Or maybe the athlete comes to you and gives you a sign or a signal or a code word that says, "Hey mom, I'm good to talk about this now," or it's still too fresh. Like, have a conversation so that you're not overstepping any boundaries, because when those emotions are too high, they're not listening to you.
Yeah.
And if you say something wrong, they're going to take it personally. They're going to misinterpret what you're saying, and it's not going to be productive. Like, it just won't be. So have a conversation and figure it out however works best for you and the athlete. Figure that out, because that mental recovery and the emotionality of it, it just doesn't work together. You've got to be able to pause and get the emotions in the past so that you can move forward with a clear head and productive analysis.
That is another thing that's very challenging for the parents. I think
Yeah.
I'm not a parent. I don't have kids who play athletics or anything like that, but I've been around sports long enough that the parents feel like they can make a difference in that moment, that they know what the problem is and that they can fix it, right? But I can guarantee that what you think is going to solve the problem isn't going to help at all. I can't think of a single athlete in my time of coaching that's just been so open to criticism, or constructive criticism, I should say, immediately following a loss or immediately following a tough competition. Like, you need that time to calm down, so to speak. And I think the parents also need that time to calm down, so to speak,
Yeah.
whether that's an emotional high or an emotional low. And
Yeah.
it's a hard thing for parents to realize and comprehend sometimes, but I think it's important and it benefits their athlete a lot more than they think.
It's very, very important that, like you said, it's not just letting your athlete's emotions calm down, it's letting your own emotions as the parent calm down as well.
I see it a lot in tennis. I'm sure it's in every other sport. I, it's like I know a lot of the things we talk about are tennis specific, but even in basketball, football, whatever it may be, parents' emotions run high. They run high when they're sitting in the bleachers. Like you got to give it time.
I think the you talked about it before, the compliment sandwich, where if we're talking about
Love
that
it.
constructive criticism, like saying something that went well or that an athlete did correctly, and then giving them something constructive to work on, and then another positive thing, so that you've got twice as much positive feedback as you have negative feedback or constructive criticism, things like that.
Absolutely.
And then being able, obviously, we talked about this in our last episode with failure, but being able to separate your performance, whether that's success or failure, but being able to separate your performance from your personal identity and your personal value and your worth as a human. Um, Again, that I think calming your emotions down helps with that, and allowing the wait time and um, just being able to separate real life from sports life and sports world and things like that.
Absolutely. If you haven't listened to that last episode, I've been told by two people now that that's been our best episode. So,
Wow.
two
Hey,
people. I'm
ain't that
one of them was
something?
one of them is my wife, one of them is my mother. So, but it counts for something, right? It counts for
Hey,
something.
it's two people.
Uh,
Two people.
those are probably the two most honest people in my life. So they must know
Yeah.
what they're talking about. Go give it a listen. It's a
Yep.
great episode.
If you got to chunk it out, it's a long episode. Chunk it out into different pieces, and you don't have to sit down and listen to it all at once.
It's like an hour and a half. That's like 5 20-minute car rides to work. Do it. It's totally fine.
Hey,
Whatever it takes.
listen to it next week on your way to work every day.
There we go. And
There you go.
listen to this one too. After this one, though, listen to this one,
After,
then listen to the last one.
and then go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Austin, are there anything that you see athletes doing that hurts them mentally after competition in their mental recovery phase? Are there things that you see athletes doing nowadays that hinders them or that hurts them?
I think this can be a good thing or a bad thing if depends on how it's utilized. Going and talking to friends. Um,
Mm.
because there can be a lot of judgment and a lot of jokes thrown around about a performance um, that might not be very beneficial, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. Or it can go in a positive direction and maybe they just help get your mind off of the performance you
Yeah.
just had. Maybe they're building you up and saying, hey, man, it's all right. You'll get them next time, whatever it is. I think that there's a lot of comparison in today's world with, I want to be like this person did this with had this score with this person, but I had this score, this person must be better than me, right? There's a lot of comparison, and so when you're around other people, they might poke fun at that comparison of
Yeah.
you lost 2-6, bro, he beat me 7-5 and I'm better than you, right? And that
Yeah.
just spirals. um I think that's what I've seen the most is the social aspect of it and how that can tear athletes down, especially
Yeah.
immediately following a competition. Something I see in practice a lot is obsessing over mistakes. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I missed so many forehands. Like, I have to be better at my forehands, and that's like you get hyper focused on forehands for the next week and a half, and you just kind
Yeah.
of lose sight of everything else. Um,
I kind of liken that one to, like, if you focus on a word for long enough, it looks like it's not spelled right anymore,
yeah,
right? Like if you focus so hard on one thing for so long and you have to make it better and you obsess over it, then it just kind of makes it worse sometimes.
You had mentioned earlier, like the separating your performance from your identity, um, not taking results personally. They kind of go hand in hand. Seen way
Mm-hmm.
too many athletes um, lose value in themselves because of a result on the tennis court or on the wrestling mat
Mm-hmm.
or wherever it may be. Um, and that sucks. And it doesn't need to be that way. Um,
Yeah.
with the right training and the right work, all these things can be fixed, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I'm going to transition here into what I do every single week with
There you
practical
go.
tools that you
Here
can
it
use.
comes.
I'm going to give you some things that worked for me, some things that I know have worked for other athletes to help you prepare and to help you recover after, before competitions. So one thing that I do is make a checklist. And I'm talking a physical checklist. Like your phone has this really cool app called the
Write
Notes
it down.
app that you can do a bulleted list, and when you're done with something, you click it and it goes away. Do that. And I'm going to tell
Yep.
you things to
Yep.
put on that list. Have a preparation and a recovery section, and have all of these things in bulleted lists. So that way when you do them, when
Yep.
you feel like you've completed them, check them off, move on to the next thing. On your preparation side, you should have things like we mentioned: sleeping, drinking water, eating well, having your equipment ready and set out. And then also 1 to 2 mindset cues you should put on there. I take that as words that you can focus on when competition goes that will kind of ground you. We've talked
Yep.
about this before on different episodes.
Something that helps your checklist be a little bit more productive is that you make it specific. So don't just write get lots of sleep. You write
Mm,
sleep for 8 hours or sleep for 7 hours or whatever your number is. Don't just write drink water. Write drink 64 ounces of water. And then, as you get there, you check it off. Eat well. Don't just write eat well or eat dinner. Like, what are you going to eat for dinner? What kind of things are you fueling your body with? So be specific with it. Um, because if you're not specific with it, it's easy to kind of cut corners and
yeah.
and not do it as well as you should. So,
Say, well, I drank 2 glasses of water today. I technically drank water. I'm good, right?
right,
I like that.
yeah,
Be specific
I
with it.
hydrated myself good enough. Like,
Yeah.
no, you
And
gotta like make it a number.
another thing that I'm thinking about as we're talking about it is, how good would you feel going into a competition day knowing that you check these things off? I got these things accomplished. Mentally, I'm prepared. I know I'm prepared, and I can visually see
Yeah.
that I'm prepared going into this. That huge. Um,
Yes.
the recovery checklist, like Andrew said, be specific with these. We're talking cool down. What is your cool down going to look like? Are you um, going to stretch? Are you going to go jog for a little bit? What exactly are you doing? Hydrate again, drink X amount of water, drink a Gatorade and X amount of water, whatever it may be. Fuel up, have things to eat after that competition, and make note of like what those are and when you're going to eat them. You might not just snarf down all that food right at once, but
Right.
pace yourself. I'm going to eat a granola bar, and then I'm going to eat this, and I'm going to eat that, whatever it may be. And another thing that is really cool about the Notes app, you can write, you can type, write a short reflection. Write what you think went well, what you think you could have done a little bit better on, and be emotionally neutral about it. I think that's a good way to put it. Emotionally neutral, where
Yep.
you're not, I played the worst tennis of my life, or I was absolutely treeing out there and I played whatever it may be.
Right.
Being, I think I could have hit my forehand a little bit better. I think my blocking on pass rushing could have been better. Whatever it is, be emotionally neutral with yourself.
Yep. The
It's
the
just,
this may be the teacher in me coming out, but my suggestion is always to handwrite it over type it or put it into your phone because it connects more.
yeah.
And so get yourself a little notebook, a little flip notebook, and you can date it. You can write who you competed against, whether what team or what school or whatever it might be, and get that reflection and write your notes in it. And so that does a couple of things. It gives you the opportunity to reflect, and you can go back and look at some of those things. It also gives you notes for future reference. If you end up matching up with that team or that athlete again in the future, you
Yeah.
can go back and say, oh, I didn't do this very well, I did do this well. um, and just put it in your bag. You got your backpack gear, your racket bag, your duffel bag with all your stuff in it. Just make that part of your gear, and add a pen or a pencil with it, and you have that with you all of the time. Handwrite it.
I think more athletes, or I'm learning about this in some of the classes I'm in, like they're encouraging athletes to do this now. Things like this. When we
Yeah,
were growing up, I don't ever remember being told to do something like this. It's a great
yeah.
idea. I wish we would
I
have known.
I had I had one checklist. I think it was my senior year in college, but it was a checklist for me on like some grounding things that I had in my bag, that I would pull out when things weren't going well. I wish that I would have been taking notes since I was in seventh grade playing tennis. Like,
Yeah.
I think that would have been so beneficial.
Maybe it's knowing that you're a teacher, but you just kind of seem like the notes guy, the guy that would pull out a notebook on changeovers and take notes. And so on the next changeover, you could be like, I moved my feet better than I did the last one. And you just seem like that kind of guy. No offense. No
I don't know how
offense.
if that's a compliment or a insult, but thanks.
Uh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, absolutely.
What an episode! I love talking about the non-competition part of competition, the things that we can control, and put yourself in the right frame of mind before and after that competition. So we talked about the prep, both physical and mental. I think it really kind of sets the tone, and gets yourself in the right frame of mind the night before, the days before, the minutes before. So that you're ready to go once the ball goes in the air, and the whistle blows. And then, when the buzzer sounds, it's important to start that recovery, that immediate recovery of, the physical and the mental, being able to lose that emotionality and reset yourself for the next one. Whether that's in a couple of hours, like sometimes we have in tennis, or sometimes it's just a few minutes after you get off the court and you're ready to go for your next one, or like in basketball or football when there's days between your next competitions. I hope that athletes and parents and coaches and anybody that's listening, I hope that we're able to give you guys some good tools and things that you can use moving forward.
Like we said at the beginning of the episode, if you know somebody that would get something out of this, share it with them. Even if you didn't get anything out of it, I hope that you thought of somebody while you're listening to this who can use some of the information. Share it, share it, share it, share it. That's all we have, really. I kind of wanted to touch on what we have coming up. Like you had mentioned, Andrew, we are getting our guest on for next week. It will be fantastic. And then the week after, we are going to do one of our questions from the listeners episodes. So we'll either,
Yeah,
if we get enough questions, we might have to do just a full episode for it because last time we went a little long. Um,
yeah, we talked quite a bit about those questions.
those there were some good questions, and we've gotten a few that are really good, that are thought-provoking questions. Would love to get some more. So if you have something, if you've made it this far, send it to us, text us, message us, DM us, whatever it is, comment. Let us know what
Yep.
you got for us. As always, Set Point Mental Edge on all social media accounts: TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. Like, share, follow, comment, subscribe, rate, all the things. We've kind of been doing numbers. I'm not gonna sit here and act like we haven't. Professionals, like we said. Professionals. I sent you a picture that Spotify sent me that said we have reached like 50 streams on Spotify through 5
Yeah.
episodes or something like that. And then a week later, I'm not even I'm it was a week to the day. It
It
said,
was
"You've reached
it was a
100
week.
streams." Oh,
Yep.
wow. That's
Oh, snap.
that's pretty cool. Yeah. I had to like
Ooh. Ooh.
send a message to Spotify's customer service and say, "Are you sure about this? I don't think we have this many listeners, but
Are you
if
talking about me?
it could be true." Yeah, have I listened to it 50 times? Maybe I have. Maybe it is me. Um, but drop us the questions, follow on social media, reach out if there's anything that you think I can help you with. I'm going to plug something real quick. I have the opportunity to get a really cool certification once I'm done with my grad schooling. It's a CMPC certification, and what that stands for is a Certified Mental Performance Consultant. I found a
Ooh,
mentor today. Hopefully, we can get her on a podcast sometime soon. It's a process, but I'm excited to learn new things that I can pass on to you guys, the listeners, to you, Andrew. It's a lot of hours spent with my mentor. It's a lot of hours spent with athletes and a lot of time spent learning. So that's going to get
love
started after the new year, hopefully, once the holidays settle down. And, I like I said, I'm excited. I'm eager to learn new things and have more topics to talk about and go from there.
that's cool. It's exciting. That's
Yeah. I can't say fun, but it'll be um I think it'll be worth it. I think it'll be worth it for
yeah,
sure. So um
yeah. That's a good opportunity.
yeah, I'm done. Are you done?
I'm done talking.
All right. I'm ready for bed. I'm ready for some water. I'm Austin. This is Andrew. This has been Set Point Sessions. Thank you guys for tuning in. Um, we'll catch you on the next session. Have a great day, great night, great
Catch you on
morning,
the
whatever it
flippity
is, whatever you're listening to it. See you next time.